What is up, people of the Red Zone Room YouTube? We got a special guest today, Mr. PicknSpreads from TikTok. What is up, my guy?
How's it going, you guys? Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We've been trying to get this going for a few weeks now, and a few other guys like Fanalize, Walter Picks. We've been trying to get something going. But today we got some things to talk about. We're going to talk about J.J. Watt going to the Cardinals. We're going to talk about Daniel Jones and his future with the Giants, how he can succeed, what are the keys if he can even succeed, why David Montgomery is overrated, and then we're all going to give a top 10 running back that we think will fall off next year. That's loose. It doesn't have to be technically top 10. And then we'll both give a running back outside of the top 15, top 20 that we think will jump and make a top 10 performance next year. So let's just start right off the bat with JJ to the Cardinals, and I'll hand it to PicknSpreads on this.
So when I first heard about JJ Watt to the Cardinals, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely kind of freaked out a little bit. Like my first thought was, oh my gosh, JJ Watt with Chandler Jones is insane. It's gonna be the best pass rushing duo in the league. But as I kind of thought about it more, I definitely thought we gave him a little bit too much money. 23 mil guarantees, kind of way too much considering he's been injured over the last couple of years. Like I understand he played all 16 games last year, but he's definitely injury prone throughout his career. And then just the cap space and all that with all these teams with the cap being lowered, we don't have a ton of cap to be able to bring guys back like Pat P and also Hassan Reddick, who exploded last year. So it's going to be a little bit weird. Hopefully we can bring back Reddit. But honestly, overall, I liked it at first. I definitely didn't expect it. When I first heard he got cut, I thought maybe there's a chance he can go to Arizona, but I thought Cleveland was the for sure cut. But I'm definitely happy we got him.
It's a lot of money. I don't know. Like, I mean, sacks isn't everything about a pass rusher, but in 16 games, he only had 5 sacks. And I feel like if you're paying a guy $30 million over 2 years, like you said, 23 million guaranteed, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a little too much for my liking, and PicknSpreads, you know better than I do, but I didn't really think that pass rush was a major problem for this team. If anything, I thought it was more their secondary that was more towards the lackluster side of things. So I don't know if the money was the best spent, but I guess it's one of those things where it's J.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year 1 or 2 times, I think it was. So if he's on the market and he's willing to come to your team, you pay for him. So I feel like, yeah, again, like if you're given the opportunity, you do it. But I don't know. I'm not overly crazy about it.
I mean, just the big thoughts that I had from this, I still don't understand why J.J. Watt made the decision. I mean, I can see, it's not like it's a terrible decision or anything, but the thing is, rumor had it he wanted to go to a contender. I think the best spots for him would have been Packers or the Bills, and then it was, or even the Browns, and it was rumored that the Titans, I mean, people like that, not that the Titans are like almighty better than the Cardinals or anything, but and I don't know if it's true, but the rumors that most of those teams at least matched the offer for Arizona. I don't know if any of that
Cardinals
stuff.
didn't even offer the most money, which was really peculiar.
Yeah, I think it was like the Browns or the Packers, which I was kind of surprised about.
Mm.
Yeah, but I mean, not even on top of that, I mean, he's obviously nearing the end of his career. Who knows how much he has left in him? But the Cardinals are one of those teams that they're starting to get on the roll. They have a bright future, but to say that they're going to win the Super Bowl in the next 2-3 years, that's kind of a stretch. And I feel like the Cardinals could easily get a Super Bowl at some time soon, but I don't think J.J. Watt will be around for that. So I don't know. It's just a weird decision to me. On top of that, you're going to go to the most competitive division, the division where I think all 4 teams are going to be maybe even have a winning record, maybe get into the playoffs for all of them. So I don't know. It was a really weird decision to me.
I'll just refrain back to what I said earlier. I think the money could have been spent better, in my opinion, because you have the reduced cap this year and then you're overpaying for a guy. I mean, those things together just don't make a happy match.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, it's like you guys are saying, the reduced cap. I mean, he only had 5 sacks last year, even though he was the most double teamed edge rusher in the league. That's still a big concern to me that he only got 5 sacks. But for all we know, I mean, maybe he still has room in the tank. I mean, I don't really want to sleep on him yet because he is a 3-time defensive player of the year, and he's without question I say maybe top 10 defensive player of all time. Like without question, at least to me, 3 defensive player of the years. But even if he's not, he's borderline top 10. So to say that I don't like the deal is kind of a lie, but to say that I do really like it is also kind of a lie.
I would like to touch on the fact about being double teamed the most because that's definitely a very important thing to bring up. And when you think about it, Houston really didn't have too many other edge rushers or people rushing the quarterback that was like too much of a threat. So if you're the offensive line or if you're the coach on the other side, you're just gonna game plan to completely take JJ Watt out of the game. This you can't anymore because now you've got Chandler Jones on the other side who led the league in sacks in back-to-back years a few years back. So now you have to account for both of them. It should open up for JJ Watt to have more single coverage. So I think his sack numbers will go up if he were to play another 16 games. I don't know. That's just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, besides Javidian and Clowney, he's never had a true other edge rusher. And now that Chandler Jones is with him, I mean, that could be without question one of the best duos in the league, like I was saying earlier. But then again, I also think about it. Both these guys are over 30 years old. JJ Watt, I believe, is 30, 32. I think he's almost 33. Chandler Jones is 31. So both these guys are insanely old. But another benefit is that we drafted a lot of defensive players, especially on the defensive line. Over the last couple of years, we got Zach Allen in 2019 with our 3rd-round pick. And then we drafted 2 defensive tackles in the 4th round last year. It's Rashard Lawrence and Ricky Fotu. And I feel like if JJ Watt can just being around him, they're going to learn a lot. It's kind of like how we attempted it with the receivers in 2019. We drafted 3 receivers in 2019, and it was all just so they could try to learn from Larry Fitzgerald, even though none of them really worked out. Maybe Andy Isabella will become something, but that's not the point. So that is another idea that I do like, is that maybe JJ Watt can teach these guys how to be elite. Just being around him is just going to help them learn so much.
All right, let's get into the next question. One of the most controversial quarterbacks in the NFL. I have no idea why. Daniel Jones. We all know that he was not good this year, although the Giants fans do not know that. Too many people defending this man, saying that he could be good. This is the question. I get DM'd a lot. I get a lot of comments here. Can Daniel Jones be good? People defending him. Very controversial. So the question I have: can Daniel Jones succeed? Will he succeed? And if so, let me read what. Can he succeed? If so, how can the Giants help him succeed? And will he or will not succeed? I'll go to PicknSpreads first.
I mean, maybe he could be like 2018 Mitchell Trubisky and just have a top 3 defense, and then just have him be serviceable. Daniel Jones will never be a top 10 quarterback. His turnovers are just way too bad. I could go on and on and on about how bad Daniel Jones is. Like, I'm still sticking with my gut when I'm saying Drew Lock is better than Daniel Jones because he's more talented than Daniel Jones, and you can't change my mind on that. Get him a number 1 weapon. Get him Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. I don't care. He's not going to break out, and I just don't see him succeeding with the Giants anytime soon. And I wouldn't be shocked if they draft a quarterback in 2022.
I saw a very funny video today. It was about Daniel Jones because the excuses for Daniel Jones have come to the point where we're now excusing his fumbles. I saw a video about that today saying that 7 of his fumbles were somebody else's fault and not Daniel Jones. 7 of his 11 fumbles, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's top 5 in the NFL. It's come to the point where Daniel Jones, for him to be serviceable, is just to cut down on their turnovers. That should be the expectation for every quarterback in the NFL. Saying that Daniel Jones just cut down on the turnovers does not mean that he's a good quarterback. Take the turnovers out of it. Mind you, he did have 21 this year. Count them, 21. But take that out of it, right? 62.5 completion percentage, 2,900 yards, 11 touchdowns, 80 quarterback rating. Or sorry, 80 rating, 61.5 QBR. Like, what about that is good? There's not one stat there that's good. Not one. And you simply cannot tell me, oh, well, look at his receivers. Well, he had a Pro Bowl tight end. I don't think he deserved it, but he had a Pro Bowl tight end. He had receivers. I simply don't understand the excuse for Daniel Jones, and it's becoming laughable at this point because of just how pure, naive, and I'm going to say idiotic people have gotten because of Daniel Jones. I'm honestly sick of it.
Yeah. My God, I cannot stand when people defend Daniel Jones. Can he succeed? Will he? Hell no. He will not succeed. Here's my problem with it. With the people that defend him, majority of the people that defend him think that he can be a franchise quarterback. What? Okay, and so I'm arguing with people in my DMs today that are arguing for Daniel Jones. And they're saying, the same thing that you guys were talking about. He cut down on the turnovers. He was good the last second half of the year. If that is your expectation of good, you're oh my God, your expectations are way too low. And he cut down on the turnovers. I think he had one pick. I could be wrong. I was trying to look it up. And he had 6 fumbles. Yes, he only lost one of them, but I would not call that eliminating the turnover issue.
No, he didn't have 6. He had 11 fumbles.
No. The second half of the year when people think he was good.
Second half. Oh, so he had 6 fumbles in 8 games?
Yeah.
That's cutting down on the turnovers?
Because technically he only lost one, so he fixed it.
Okay.
But I mean, you can't. The thing that makes me mad. You can argue for his situation. Yeah, it's a bad situation, but there's a difference between being okay, being average in a terrible situation, or being trash in a terrible situation. And the only thing that people think, oh, he's a top 5 rushing quarterback in the league. I don't care. And you want to blame his sacks and fumbles on the offensive line. And then you got all these Giants fans. You don't watch the games. Watch him play. Trust me, I watch the man play. Because of all the controversy surrounding him, he is one of the few players that I actually went back and watched every single one of his games. He has terrible pocket presence. Terrible. I will say on record, half of the sacks he takes are literally his fault because he can't feel anything. The fumbles are very unnecessary. He will just drop the football or they'll tap it out of his hands. No ball security whatsoever. His decision-making is terrible. He tries to force stuff when it's not there. And people think that he's an accurate quarterback, but he's not. He can be accurate at times, but he can also be very inaccurate at times. I don't even need to bring up the interception problem. It's the same thing as the fumbles. When you have more turnovers than touchdowns, you can't defend that. And there's a difference between – I'll use an example for Sam Darnold. I'm not this huge Sam Darnold guy, but I do think he would be a little bit better in another situation. I'm not going to talk about Sam Darnold, but what I'm saying, some of his turnovers or mistakes or like low stats are literally, they're not really his fault half the time. He'll throw, I don't know. I watched what's his name? Theo Ash's video on him today and made some good points. Daniel Jones, the bottom line, the stuff that he does, the terrible stuff that he does is on him. And I think go ahead and get him Kenny Golladay. Go ahead and give him a good offensive line. He will never be better than serviceable. And serviceable is 15 to 20 in quarterback rankings. And I just don't see the argument for him. I have never heard a good point backing up Daniel Jones.
I think that in the NFL, there's a difference between, flashing the pan a few times and actually doing it a lot. So like there have been not many, but there have been games where Daniel Jones has shown signs of being a competent quarterback. Like there generally have been. And I don't want it to ever sound like I'm a hater of a player. I really don't. I know I might come across it sometimes, but I really don't hate any player. But like Daniel Jones has made some nice plays. I could probably count him on like one hand, but he has done it before. The difference between him and like any top 15 quarterback is that they do it consistently and they can do it more than once. They could do it for 5, 6, 7 games in a row. Daniel Jones has not and will never do that. He just can't. He, for some reason, I don't know why, he's just not capable of doing it. And I do think that if you do surround him with Kenny Galladay or I don't know, any of the free agent receivers out there, it will better his consistency, but I don't think it will ever be to the point where he can be a reliable quarterback to get you playoff wins or even just get you into the playoffs. I don't see, if the Giants are in any other division besides the NFC least, I don't see them making the playoffs with Daniel Jones at their quarterback, regardless of the weapon. So 40-40, to answer your question on can he succeed, my answer is no, because he's just too inconsistent.
Yeah, and also I just want to point this out real quick. I'm huge on Taylor Heineke. I don't know if you guys know that. I love Taylor Heineke. Like people have been telling me in my comments.
It's one game.
People have been telling me in my comments that I have a man crush on him, and I don't care. I mean, sure, it was only, you can say, oh, it was only one game, but I mean, he went in on the fourth quarter against the Panthers, threw a 40-yard dime of a touchdown. I'm sorry, has impressed me more in that one game and that one fourth quarter than Daniel Jones did the entire season. Because Taylor Heineke almost single-handedly beat Tom Brady in the playoffs with, I think he had a total of 8 drops in that game, and that's what happens when you have Mims as your receiver too. He's terrible. And then Terry McLaurin is your only good option. But Taylor Heineke, I view him, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I'd rather take him over Daniel Jones.
Oh, I'd take him over Daniel Jones.
That's not too bold of a take, considering how bad Daniel Jones is.
Well, I mean, but like Tailgate said, like one game, like, he's only played one game. And it's like that one game he played. And don't give me that they didn't have a game plan for him. I don't care. He went out there and threw dimes.
Tell me this. Has Daniel Jones had a game comparable to Taylor Heineke?
The only
has he made a game like, and don't say the Buccaneers game. They had the 32nd ranked pass defense in the NFL. You cannot bring up that game. Were you about to? You cannot use that game. That game does not count. He also threw 3 picks in that game.
He did throw 3 picks in that game. I don't know. What's a good one?
Because off the top of my head, I can't think of one game that is as efficient and good, as Daniel Jones.
Maybe the second time they played the Bucs, like not in the 2019 season, but like this last season in the regular season, I think it was on Monday Night Football. That was a decent. He
threw 2 picks and had a fumble.
Hey man, for his level, that's decent. Okay, Giants fans, I don't care what you say. Daniel Jones sucks, and he's not better than Drew Lock.
No, he is not.
I am waiting for next year when Giants fans are complaining about how bad he is, and they can finally stop the excuses.
No, are you kidding me? No, they will find excuses.
Yeah,
I'm having fun watching them just come up with excuses. Like I'm cool with just sitting back and watching the fun happen. Like I'm cool with it.
All right, let's get into this David Montgomery debate. Is he overrated? Is he top 10? And I'll hand it off to Tailgate.
I don't really see a whole lot of people putting Dave Montgomery in their top 10. Maybe that's just me. Okay.
It's just you. Trust me.
All right. So if people are putting him in the top 10, then I guess he's overrated. But I personally don't see it. Apparently he is. So I guess by that, he is overrated. To me, Dave Montgomery is not top 10 because there are running backs in the NFL that don't have good offensive lines and still put up numbers against good defenses. Dave Montgomery just is incapable of doing that. Everybody loves to refer to his whole number of 1,070 yards or whatever it is. You got to look at the game logs. You got to look at who he was playing when he had those great games, right? Green Bay. I think it's the worst run defense in the NFL. Detroit
down
in the snow.
I will say Green Bay was 10th in run defense.
10th?
Yeah.
No, they were not. Disagree. Not true.
Look, I pulled up right now.
False statistics. Detroit
is 28th, but this is
all right, Houston.
And Houston's 32nd.
Minnesota.
NFL team opponent rushing yards per game. I was surprised me, but Green Bay was 10th. But yeah, like
Minnesota.
Minnesota's 27th, Detroit's 28th, Houston's 32nd,
Jacksonville?
Jacksonville's 30th. So yeah.
Okay. So those were his last 4 games of the year, which everybody loves to refer to. And of course, they were some good games. But you look at the Rams, 48 rushing yards. New Orleans, 80 rushing yards. Carolina, 58. Tampa Bay, 29. Indianapolis, 27. Atlanta, 45. He couldn't play well against good defenses. And of course, I know his offensive line is bad. So is James Robinson. So is Saquon Barkley. There are
Okay, well,
running
James
backs.
Robinson's offensive line is so much better than David Montgomery's, though. Come on.
I don't know
There's
about
no-
so much better, dude. Jacksonville's not really good at damn near anything. I mean, I don't know. There are running backs in the NFL who have pretty subpar to bad offensive lines and still put up good numbers. I'd say Austin Eckler is probably better than Dave Montgomery in my opinion because you add in his dual threat and a comparable offensive line. Melvin Gordon, kind of debatable. You could put him over. He's also splitting carries, something that Dave Montgomery's not doing. I like it's not crazy to put Montgomery in your top 10. I would put him at the absolute top number 10, but I just don't see it because of course that 1,000-yard season looks great, but when you actually look at the game log and you actually look at how he performed against individual teams, they're not that great.
So as you could tell from me, interrupting tailgate, I clearly disagree. David Montgomery is my number 10 running back. I think he's definitely top 10. I wouldn't say he's overrated at all. He has one of the worst offensive lines in the league. The Chicago Bears tackle is, you could put all three of us in on that offensive line, and I'm pretty sure it would still improve by about 3 folds. Their offensive line is terrible. They're going to draft 2 tackles in the draft, and I'd bet anybody $500 on that. Their guards are pretty good, but they were hurt for the entire year. I guess I'm repeating myself. His offensive line was terrible. He was in a pretty hard division, I guess. He ran over the Packers defense, and the Packers were 10th in the NFL in rushing defense. I know he didn't score a touchdown in that game. I'm pretty sure it didn't, but either way, 100 yards on that defense I'd take. And they locked down Derrick Henry. Sure, it was in the snow, but I mean, still, they locked him down. I would say David Montgomery is top 10. His offensive line is arguably, in my opinion, I think it's the worst in the NFL. I'd rather have the Giants offensive line than the Bears offensive line. Like Andrew Thomas, he's up and down, but he's something. Like the Bears have nothing at tackle.
Okay. It's oh crap, I lost it. So going on this game log that Tailgate's talking about, I think through the first 9 weeks, he didn't have a 100-yard game. He only had 2 over 80 yards. And his yards per carry, I'll just read down the list. It was 4.95, then 3, 2.7, 2.9, 3, 3.4, 4.2, 2.1.
2.1. Ugh.
That was against Tennessee too. But here's the and like you can try to like use this offensive line argument all you want, but that's something I would use to say that he's good, but I don't think it deserves a top 10 thing. I mean, I'm going to go through the running backs I think are better than him, but first, the one impressive game I'll give him is the 100 yards against Green Bay. I do think they were like better than people realize, and that was a 9.3 yards per carry. But apparently he was this amazing breakout running back, and yeah, he broke out a little bit, but I don't think he ever cracked the top 10. And he had 72 rushing yards against Detroit, who was a bottom 5 rushing defense, 113 yards against Houston. Congrats, the worst rushing defense in the league. 146 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns against Minnesota. Congrats, a bottom 5 rushing defense. And then 23 carries for 95 yards against Jacksonville, another bottom 5 rushing defense. That was a 4.1 yards per carry. And then another pretty average performance against Green Bay after that.
Below average, 3.1 yards per carry.
I think he's completely fine to put in the top 15. I would put him anywhere from 12, maybe 13 to 15. But it's not even that the running backs I would put above him. It's hard. You can't put him above McCaffrey, Saquon, Henry, Cook, Chubb, Kamara. In my opinion, you can't put him above Mixon. You can't put him above Aaron Jones. You can't put him above Miles Sanders. And then I would also put Chris Carson, Austin Eckler, James Robinson above him. And then debatably Jacobs and Taylor, but that's fine. I don't really.
You
care
can't
about
put
that
him up
one.
against any of those guys that you named in the mid tier because all of them have bad offensive lines and still put up better numbers and more efficient numbers than David Montgomery does.
I put him above Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders, I don't care what you say. The Eagles have a worse offensive line than Chicago does, and he puts
has
up way better efficient.
I mean,
numbers.
the Eagles had something that the Bears didn't have all season. I mean, Jason Kelce, he was healthy for most of the season. I get he's a center, but he's definitely a top 5 center.
Again, he's a center. He's the least important part of an offensive line.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that at least they had something. The Bears had nothing, literally nothing, at offensive line.
Look, I mean, I think we're kind of comparing 1% to 2%. I mean, Miles Sanders still put up a much better yards per carry. He was just more efficient. He was more explosive. He was better in the pass game. He was better in almost any area that Dave Montgomery was. And he had I think you and I can both agree he had a comparable offensive line. Whether you want to say that Chicago just, inches out or Philly barely inches out, both of them were comparable. And Miles Sanders still put up better stats in almost every department.
Okay, well, you obviously can't put him above the top 6 elite running backs.
No.
Not Mixon and Jones. You agree?
Nope.
No.
Not. Then the next tier would be, I think, Sanders, Carson, Eckler, and James Robinson.
Carson, I don't know about that one.
I think Carson's criminally underrated.
I mean, I agree. He's definitely underrated. His offensive line is pretty bad too.
For that one, it really comes down to watching them play. I think Carson's way more talented than Montgomery.
I respect that.
People just have completely forgot about Chris Carson. It's really sad. He had back-to-back 1,100, 1,200 yard seasons. He's a very good running back. He was just hurt this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to harp on Montgomery or anything. I think he's easily top 50 running back. He had a pretty impressive year for that. But to say he had a top 10 year and he's a top 10 talent, I can't see that argument really.
I mean, if they draft well, at least when it comes to the tackles, I guarantee you he will jump in everyone's top 10.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. I mean, he gets a good O-line. That could be dangerous, but I can't see him in the top 10 right now. That's just overrating him, in my opinion.
Then again, it is the Bears, and they don't particularly draft well, so see what happens.
All right, I'll send you guys another invite.
All right, we changed the outline. We're gonna scrap the running back fall and the running back rise thing maybe for next podcast. We got some topics here that we got to talk about. We got Kyler Murray versus Derek Carr here. Tailgate versus PicknSpreads. I'll be a little bit of a mediator, but we'll see. So we're gonna go Kyler versus Carr. Whoever wants to go first, take the.
PicknSpreads, I will defer to you.
All righty, I'll go ahead. I love Derek Carr. I've been saying he's underrated for a long time. Is he a better total thrower? Barely. He's barely a better total thrower. I think Carr is a slightly better thrower. When it comes to deep ball accuracy, it's not even close. It's definitely Kyler. But when it comes to total throwing of the football, I think Carr is slightly better. But what I don't understand is people just shove out of the way his running. Kyler was the second quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 25 passing touchdowns and rush for over 10 rushing touchdowns. The only person to ever do that was Cam Newton, and Kyler did it in his second season with terrible play calling from Cliff Kingsbury, no run game to rely on at all. I mean, you take away Kyler's rushing, the Cardinals averaged the second least amount of rushing yards in the NFL. His tight end core was, in my opinion, I don't think it was the worst. I think that belongs with the Patriots, but it was definitely the second worst in the NFL. And his offensive line wasn't really that much anything special. I know it was better than the Raiders, but when it comes to penalties,
do not disrespect Dan Arnold.
He's not good.
Dan Arnold is a top 3 tight end in the NFL. That man is great. Look, it's not crazy. I could easily see Kyler Murray in the top 10. I don't want it to sound like I am so opposed to thinking that, because I'm really not. And I would say for the majority of the season, I did have Kyler Murray in my top 10, but it just, I just got thinking, honestly. I watched the tape for all these guys. I compared a lot of their stats together, and I just kind of thought about, you know what? I understand Kyler Murray was injured, but sorry, maybe next year. I just think when you look at the stats, Derek Carr has a higher completion percentage. And again, some of these are very close. I'm talking about 0.1 close. But I'm just going to say what's better and worse. Derek Carr, better completion percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, a much higher rating, less interceptions, higher yards per attempt. Again, a lot of those are close. It's worth noting, Arizona had the second lowest pressure rate in the NFL. So if you go by pressure rate and you think that makes a big deal for the offensive line, and that means that they had the second best offensive line in the NFL. In my opinion, probably around top 7. Derek Carr in the Las Vegas Raiders outside of the top 15 in pressure rate. I think it was right around 18 or 19. So towards the bottom half of the NFL in the offensive line. Of course, you cannot tell me that Derek Carr is anything sort of comparable to the receivers that just receivers in total, not just wide receivers, but just receivers as a whole, comparable to what Kyler Murray has. The only pure outlier between the two of them is the running attack that Kyler Murray has, and that is something that you absolutely need to take into account because that's such an integral part of his play style. But I do think that not only are Derek Carr's stats better, but because of his situation and lack of receivers, I do think that pushes him over the edge and just ekes out a victory in a 1-on-1 versus the two. If I'm starting a franchise over, I take Kyler Murray and don't think about it again. Of course. I mean, how could you not? But I'm just saying right now, I think Derek Carr is a better quarterback.
Okay, when I heard you're part of the receivers, I'm not going to lie, I almost screamed. I don't think you realize how close these two actually are. Like I said, Arizona has one of the worst tight end cores in the entire league. DeAndre Hopkins was being force-fed game in, game out, and when he's running only 5 to 8 yard routes every single game, thanks to Cliff Kingsbury.
He's still 1,400 yards. I thought it was a lot less. I thought he barely eked out 1,000.
Exactly.
1,400.
Exactly, and that's because he's so good after the catch, and that's exactly why. I understand he had 1,400 receiving yards, but that's also another point. He has to be force-fed because the other receivers for the Arizona Cardinals are not that good. Tight ends have an easier time getting open than Larry Fitzgerald. Andy Isabella has the worst hands out of any receiver in the 2019 draft, and it's not even close. Christian Kirk is nothing but an average deep threat. That's all he is.
It's still more than what Derek Carr has. I will stand by that.
I would take Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow.
No,
Henry
you can't compare the running backs. Don't compare the running backs. I would take Kenyon Drake over Josh Jacobs. Easily.
What?
I would take Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds over Josh Jacobs.
Are you kidding?
Two of them.
No way. Oh, that's going on the TikTok.
Do it.
No
Fine.
way.
Do it.
What?
I will not take Josh Jacobs alone. I'm saying I would take Josh Jacobs over Kenyon Drake, but I'm not taking.
You realize that Arizona, take away Kyler's rushing yards, you realize Arizona was second to last in the NFL in rushing yards a game, even with those two backs. You realize that, right?
Yes. you also need to realize
what?
Because I just think the two of them are better. I would rather take both of them than just one Josh Jacobs. That's just me. I'm not saying it's not close.
Add Booker into it. Which duo would you rather have?
I'd still probably take. No, by then, because Booker has a higher yards per carry than Jacobs does, so I'd probably take Booker and Jacobs over them.
Well, then there you go. I mean, the thing. Okay, but the thing is, Derek Carr has a run game to rely on. Kyler doesn't. Kyler was the best runner on the team last year, and it wasn't even close. He averaged the second most yards in the NFL, like yards per carry in the NFL, only behind Lamar Jackson. Kenyon Drake is not a good running back. When he first came to Arizona, he was outstanding. He averaged over 100 yards a game, playing very tough defenses like the Rams and the 49ers. I think he played the 49ers twice, actually. He did fantastic towards the end of the season when we picked him up in free agency or when we traded him for, I think it was a conditional pick, but whatever. And then this year, he comes in with high expectations in fantasy, and not only does he disappoint, he goes from arguably top 10 running back to not even top 20. Kenyon Drake is not good.
440, please chime in.
I mean, that's not insane to say.
Not top 20. He was 45 yards off of a 1,000-yard year.
How much you look at his yards per carry? What did he get? 3.8 yards a carry?
4.0. 4.0. It's a great GPA. How is that bad?
I mean, he
4.0 yards per carry.
He wasn't.
Remember,
the best
that was in
team.
15 games. That was in 50. Only 13 games started. So on a 16-game average, he would be over 1,000 rushing yards. Throw in his receiving yards, and he's already over 1,000 scrimmage. He is a top 20 running back.
Chase Edmonds is a better receiving back than Kenyon Drake, though.
Fine. Nyheim Hines is a better receiving back than Jonathan Taylor. So I would take James White as a receiving back over Derrick Henry. Who cares?
Okay, but what I'm trying Okay, go ahead for 40.
Kenyon Drake is a top 10. Sorry. Sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa.
He's a top 20 running back. That's ridiculous to me.
I think that 1,000 mark is a little bit overrated.
Thank you.
Is there that big of a difference between 950 yards and 1,050 yards?
It isn't, but it puts you in the top 20 argument. Come on.
Wow, quadruple digits. Well,
we're discrediting that now? Who's better?
All right.
You can't name 20 running backs that are better.
I probably could if I really thought about it.
You cannot.
I bet I
comes
could.
down. It's the stats. Whatever, you even admitted it yourself that they were close. And then I guess when you want to go to situation, once again, you can't act like Kyler has this amazing situation. I think
He doesn't. He's got
arguably the greatest wide receiver in the NFL.
When DeAndre Hopkins is running 5 to 8 yard routes every single time, and it's always on the left side. All of his routes are extremely predictable. That's why Jalen Ramsey locked him down twice, and Stephon Gilmore locked him down with ease. Usually it's hard. They all locked him down easy. The one game that he actually ran creative routes, it was against the Giants. And who did he burn? James Bradbury, easily. He has terrible coaching. And it's like I said, his weapons outside DeAndre Hopkins are terrible. There's a reason.
So now John Gruden, whoever their offensive coordinator is now, is out great coaching.
Cliff. I take it. We don't even have an OC.
That doesn't mean it's good coaching.
I take it over Cliff. Cliff is the reason we missed the playoffs. Their
play calling is not all that great either.
It's better than Cliff's. What do you mean?
So?
What do you
That's
mean
like saying, 28th to 27th. They're still pretty bad.
Both of them are bad, but I take the one that's slightly better over the one that's worse. Cliff is the reason why we didn't make the playoffs. We have the talent to make the playoffs, and we didn't do it because of him.
Dude, I don't understand why we're comparing all these situations when they're like not even that far off, and it's not really relevant to the debate, in my opinion, because
440, the whole reason is because it's extremely close, so you have to compare the close things.
I mean, that's like saying
I could see 10A and 10B with Kyler Murray and Derek Carr, honestly. They're honestly a tie for me. Like they're so comparable.
Listen, I've been saying for like all season long that I don't understand why everyone always says, "Oh, Kyler has these amazing weapons." He has Hopkins. I'll give you that. Carr has Waller. Don't forget about that. That's a top 3 receiver and a top 3 tight end. And Waller is a very great pass catching tight end. And then both of them, the rest of their receiving core, below average, not very impressive. Neither one of them has much help after that. They both have one very good option to go to. Coaching, compare that all you want. They're both just below average coaches. I would take Gruden over Cliff too. And the stats you admitted yourself are just right next to each other. So that comes down. And I PicknSpreads said it. Carr, you can give the edge to Carr in passing if you want, but it's very close. Let's take it over to rushing. Kyler kicks his ass. He's the top 2 rushing quarterback. You can't tell me that you would rather have Derek Carr than Kyler Murray, and I'm not even saying starting a franchise.
I literally said I would rather have Kyler Murray over Derek Carr.
Yeah, you said starting a franchise because of
starting a franchise, but you said
that's
right
different.
now.
Right now, I don't take age out of the picture. You can't tell me you'd rather have Carr.
Absolutely not.
I don't think we've seen Carr at his absolute max. I don't.
And I don't think we've seen Kyler at his absolute max.
Yeah,
either.
what does that have to do with anything?
I'm saying that Derek Carr hasn't really had a great receiver since Amari Cooper. When he did, he threw 34 touchdowns and was a Pro Bowler.
Waller.
Yeah, I mean, Waller. He's a top 3 tight end.
Not just Waller.
Oh, he's a tight end. So?
There's a little bit of a difference there.
He has a great option to throw to.
What else does Derek Carr have?
And here's another thing. I know we kind of briefly talked about it. I mean, it's like I said, he has a run game to back him up. Having a run game to back up is very important for a quarterback. I mean,
look at
Kyler is the run game.
Amen.
The Cardinals have a great offensive line.
Great offensive line?
Whoa. What?
Great offensive line.
We said it before. I can pull it up if you'd like me to. Arizona has the second lowest pressure rate in the NFL.
Mason Cole, Kevin Belcham.
When you go by pressure rate,
the only good tackle
16.6%
is DJ Humphries, who graded out as a top 10 tackle by PFF. I hate PFF, but I listen to the rankings every now and then. Either way, you can't say they have a great offensive line when Kyler went out and said, "Hey, I want more protection." And also, I don't think you realize Kyler got sacked more than Derek Carr, and Kyler Murray is more mobile than Derek Carr.
Here's the second. Raiders are. I'm gonna try to find it right now. I'm gonna try to find where the pressure rate is, because honestly, pressure rate is everything to me. It really is. It means how frequently do the pass
Also,
rushers get to the quarterback?
Arizona's offensive line also led the NFL in penalties, and it wasn't even close. Penalties kill you worse than sacks, in my opinion. If not, it's pretty close. They're both the two worst things to me are sack and penalties, and when Arizona leads both of them compared to the Raiders, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, look, I know it seems like I'm on, the other side of the argument. I'm very neutral in this. I really am. Like, I know the clips on TikTok are gonna show it as if I'm like extremely in the direction of Derek Carr. I'm really not. I said it multiple times to this point. I'm extremely neutral on the two of them. It's slight. Like, it really is. And honestly, you guys probably convinced me in the direction of Kyler Murray. That's how 10A, 10B I am with these two quarterbacks. They're just too comparable. And honestly, what it comes down to for me is how much do you weigh each situation? How much do you weigh the importance of offensive line, weapons, run game, actual stats, intangibles? It all depends on how much you weigh that stuff. That's how close it is. It depends on how much you weigh it.
I respect that, but I do want to ask you something real quick. Do you think Kyler Murray is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL right now? I just kicked the wall. No. Who do you think is? Honestly, you guys are gonna hate me. I'm saying Dak Prescott, but I know that's not the argument. But.
Yeah, you know what? It's not that crazy. It's really not. People are starting to put him at 6, which is ridiculous to me.
People say
where would you rank him?
I have him.
I'd say 9, 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And the thing is, people are saying he's an MVP candidate.
No.
Did people just forget what happened to him? He just snapped his whole leg in half. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is for you to win MVP? But no, overall, my thoughts, Kyler's a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. I don't really think it's close. I mean, I maybe even put him at number 9 ahead of Tannehill, because you take away play action from Tannehill, I mean, he's still good, but he's not on Kyler's level. And Kyler coming out of the draft, I mean, he was compared to Russell Wilson for a reason. It's not just because of their heights. It's because they literally play the exact same, except Kyler's Russell Wilson on steroids. Like, that's what he is. He's just a faster Russell Wilson. That's what he is. He had the most accurate deep ball coming out of college I've seen in years. Now, maybe Zach Wilson will take that title away from him. Who knows? But I guess we'll see how it goes over the next month until the draft. But he was compared to him for a reason, and I think he's easily a top 5 deep ball thrower, and he's the second fastest quarterback in the league.
Best deep ball thrower is Daniel Jones. You can't convince me otherwise. I honestly, being completely honest, I think the most overrated quarterback in the NFL right now is Josh Allen.
Whoa.
That's what I will say.
Wow. I mean, people that say he's better than Watson and Wilson.
You can't say he's 2. You can't. I've seen so many lists of putting him at 2. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. 2 is such a popular spot to put Josh Allen. I think if you're putting anywhere in the top 4, you're ridiculous. You can't. You can't put him above Rodgers, Mahomes, or Watson. You just cannot.
Or Russ. He's my number 5.
Or Russ. I don't think you put him above Russ. No way.
I think maybe next year there's a chance he could. Yeah,
that's the thing, is like, I'm not just gonna let 1 year, like, oh, okay, now he's like this crazy talent. Like, we can't just forget what he was like a few years ago. Because don't want to bring him up, but like there is Mitch Trubisky. Would like to bring up that in a way. I mean, the guy had one great year and then, didn't really come back to that. I'm not saying it's going to happen to Josh Allen. Don't want that to be taken out of context, but I'm not going to put him in the top 4 because of one season where he was on the same level as some other guys who've been doing it for a lot longer than he has. That's what I will say.
I agree.
I think picking an overrated quarterback is super hard because
exactly. Like, I'm on ESPN right now. I was looking at the teams.
And also, people need to realize when we say overrated does not mean bad. It doesn't. Overrated does not mean bad, and underrated does not mean good. Mm-hmm. I think that's a misconception that people are having. Like, earlier, I said that DK Metcalf was overrated. Does that mean he's bad? No, DK Metcalf is not bad. He is, without question, the top 15 receiver in the league. But being overrated means you're being valued too high. not that shit bad. So I just need to get that out there for people thinking that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like picking an overrated quarterback. It's like I can understand the Allen one because I have seen him at 2 and 3 a lot, which is ridiculous. He's like 5 or 6 in my opinion, probably 5, maybe 6. But Kyler's getting more disrespected than appreciated. Um, Tannehill, I completely disagree with that. If anything, he's underrated. He's also one of those guys that's ranked between 8 to 15. But I think for the most part, he's underrated. I don't like when people call him overrated. I don't know. I feel like if you're forcing me to, I don't really think there's a really overrated quarterback. But if you're forcing me to pick one, I might go Baker Mayfield.
I thought about Baker too.
That's interesting.
Because you got Browns fans calling him top 10. Top 12 is not crazy, but I think that 10 to 15 range, it's hard to put him like above a lot of those guys. That's not crazy, but I don't know. I have him at like 14, 15.
He's not
More of a less popular pick, but I'm thinking Jalen Hurts. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
My God, yes.
People think that Jalen Hurts is this like
he's not good.
He's the answer in Philadelphia. I'm not even saying he's not, but please don't say that he's the answer because of his 2020 year. 52% completion percentage, 4 picks, 6 touchdowns, 77 rating. Like that's your future. You want him as your future.
And I agree with you all the way. And honestly, his best game was, it was good. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't anything impressive. It was against Arizona's defense when we played.
He had 9 fumbles in 4 games.
Really? Wow.
I didn't realize that.
Oh my! He had 9 fumbles in 4 games. How many did he lose?
Not necessarily like losing all 9.
No. I got that. Like, how many did he lose though? Does it say? Because if he lost more than 3, then oh my gosh. That's 9 fumbles, and that's worse than Daniel Jones.
That's hard to do.
I think 3.
I don't know if that's honestly. That's kind of impressively bad, to be honest.
I think 3.
That's bad. That's really bad. He did lose one against. Now that I remember, we definitely did pick up one of his fumbles. I remember that.
So he had 6 touchdowns and 13 potential giveaways. If you want to put it like that, on a 52% completion percentage. And people are putting this guy above Tua.
No, absolutely not. Tua is better.
It's ridiculous to me.
I don't think Tua is going to be. I'm kind of slowly hopping off the Tua hype train, though. Like, I still think.
What hype train? There's no hype train with Tua.
Well,
no one is with this guy.
No, Miami fans are with him. Some of them, at least the ones that. It's either trade Watson or keep Tua. Like, it's one or the other. Have you seen a lot of Dolphins fans recently saying like, "Oh, I want Zach Wilson," or "Oh, I want Justin Fields"? I haven't seen that recently.
I think Tua's the answer. I really do. I think he's a winner. I think that it's one of those traits that you can't teach, and you like. I do agree. Like, winning is absolutely a team stat, but I feel like they're just winners in the NFL. They're just guys that win. Aaron Rodgers is a loser. Like, I'll come out and say it. You can quote me on that all you want. Aaron Rodgers is a loser. Tom Brady is a winner. There are just winners and losers in the NFL. I think Tua's a winner.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep, another winner.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's kind of weird to call Tua a winner and Rodgers a loser, if you know what I mean.
He's 1 of 4 in the NFC Championship.
Has Tua been there?
No, I'm just saying Tua went.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean.
Tua went 7-3 as a starter, and in a shortened offseason, thrust into a starter role with no OTAs and a really banged up wide receiver core and team as a whole.
And
no receivers. I don't. Huh?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know why people use this no offseason excuse because no one else had an offseason.
But the guys who have been doing it in the NFL for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been here before. That's the whole point. No, it's saying rookies that are transition into the NFL.
I'm a Tua believer. I'm not trying to hate on Tua, but I'm just saying in general, when people are saying like Cam Newton, oh, he had no offseason. No one else did either.
Well, yeah, but Cam Newton went on to a new team with a new playbook. A completely new team.
Cam Newton
also didn't play for the last year.
Well, Cam Newton is also, you might hate me for this, Tailgate. Cam Newton, in my opinion, he's the worst starting quarterback in the league. I'm sorry.
You must have not seen any of my content whatsoever. I've been saying Cam Newton sucks for the longest time.
Okay, but who do you think is better, Daniel Jones or Cam Newton?
Daniel Jones.
Okay.
I'd say Daniel Jones is better than Cam Newton.
Okay. Yeah, I think Cam Newton is. he's dead last. His throwing motion is terrible. And honestly,
Yeah.
this idea of that he's such a red zone threat, well, I'd rather have Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray running the ball in the red zone than Cam Newton.
I don't understand the hype around him. But yeah, no, that's the whole thing about saying no offseason. It just applies to the rookies or players that switch to a new team.
It's yeah, but it's like, what about, I was gonna say Herbert and Burrow, and I'm not trying to compare him to them, because I will say, like, people think that Tua sucks because he wasn't on Herbert and Burrow's level, but they were just absolutely ridiculous. They had historic rookie seasons.
And also, Tua was super banged up. Like, Tua didn't have time to learn the playbook. Like, he was rehabbing for the offseason.
Yeah, what makes Herbert so rollable when we're talking about, like, how much time they were given over the offseason, what makes Herbert so good is that in the limited OTAs that they had, or training camp that they had, Herbert was taking second team snaps. Like, he was prepared to be the backup behind Tyrod Taylor, thrust into a starter role, and he played great. Of course, he had some nice receivers with the ball too, but a bad offensive line, no Austin Eckler, awful coaching. That's what makes him so good. And Joe Burrow, obviously, before he tore his ACL, if it wasn't for Justin Herbert's rookie year, he would have been on pace to break almost every single rookie passing record there was. So,
yeah, I got a question.
Oh boy,
tailgate. Who is the best cornerback in the league?
Stephon Gilmore.
Stop.
Get this kid out.
Look, at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where I think cornerback is a really tough role to assess, position to assess,
Ramsey.
because
Ramsey.
there are
Ramsey.
Yeah, like I could see Ramsey at being the best cornerback in the league, and it's not crazy to say that at all. That's a very popular answer.
Well, yeah, it's the right. No, it's not. It's not. It's no. Yeah, it's the right answer.
I just think people are completely forgetting what Stephon Gilmore was like when he was healthy. I mean, the guy shut down DeAndre Hopkins in every meeting they had. He allowed less yards per game this year than he has in any season in his entire career. His completion percentages, or his catch percentage, is lower than Jalen Ramsey over the last 2 years. I just, I don't know. That's just me. Like, again, they're both great. It's kind of like Carr and Murray. It's like either way you go, fine. Like, I know you're probably expecting like a big debate. I really don't have a big fight for it. I think honestly, Ramsey and Gilmore are so close that I think it comes down to preference, kind of like Carr and Murray. Like, after you think about it, I'd probably prefer Murray over Carr just because of his dual threat ability. But when, just going off of Stephon and Ramsey, I think they're both so good and so dominant at their position that it just comes down to preference. Like, which one do you want? If you go by age, probably Ramsey, but overall, I'm probably going to take Gilmore.
I think for me, I just prefer the athleticism of Ramsey, so that's why I would choose him.
I mean, I think Ramsey and Jair are the top two, and I can see Gilmore at 3.
No.
Not Xavier Howard. I'm sorry.
I would take Gilmore over Howard.
No, if you're gonna say Xavier Howard, then JC Jackson needs to be put up there in the top 5 too, apparently.
He's so overrated, dude.
He's so bad. Okay, well, he's not bad, but you get my point. Don't come at me. He's not bad. He's his own thing. That's what he is.
I mean, I can't even. It just shows how bad recency bias was. I can't even believe anyone was ever comparing JC Jackson to Gilmore.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. It sounds kind of contradictory. We're going off of recency bias, but I feel like the recency bias answer is to take Ramsey over Gilmore. Okay, my opinion. Because remember, every single person and their mother was consensus that Gilmore is the best cornerback in the NFL. And then he puts up a better season. He put up a better year than he did when he won Defensive Player of the Year. This year was better than last year.
He didn't deserve it that year.
Fine. Whatever. Say he doesn't deserve it. I think he did. I think it was a no question to me.
Chandler Jones. I'm just saying it should have been Chandler Jones. I think. Okay, you know what? It was close. I think it was super close. Sorry for interrupting you, but yeah.
They're fine.
I think it was super close. Everyone that's saying TJ Watt got snubbed 2 years in a row.
No, he did not.
He did not deserve it last year. He was my third place guy. I thought Chandler should have won it, but I was cool with Gilmore winning it. As long as it wasn't,
though, Jalen Ramsey hasn't been top 3, top 4, top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting the last 2 years. Gilmore he won it last year, and he probably should have been in this year. He put up better stats than his defensive player of the year season. What else am I supposed to say?
I mean, did Gilmore play the same level of competition? Because maybe
It's
that's
Stephon
why.
Diggs in his conference this year, or division this year, didn't last year.
I thought he only played him one time. Wasn't he hurt
Faced
against the
DeAndre
Bills?
Hopkins this year. Shut him down.
Oh, yeah, well, DeAndre
4 catches.
Hopkins. Okay, well, DeAndre Hopkins is easy to lock down this shit because of Cliff. Like,
I
come
mean,
on.
he had 1,400 yards.
Well,
I don't know if he's easy. I don't know if it's easy to shut down the best wide receiver in the NFL. Top 3 at least.
yeah, top 3. I don't think he's number 1, but that's just me. A lot of people get surprised when I say that because you're like, what?
I am a little bit.
Yeah, like everyone's like, what? You're a Cardinals fan. You have to say Hopkins. I'm like, no, I think Adams is number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when we're talking about recency bias, obviously it's a thing, but my argument is that it's not like Jalen Ramsey was like so much further down the rankings and like, oh, he had a good year, so he's number 1 and Gilmore gets to drop. I think, Ramsey was right on Gilmore's ass last year and Ramsey had an amazing year. And it's like when they're on the same level and one has a better year than the other one, it's not necessarily recency bias, in my opinion. I know Gilmore was hurt and stuff, but I think we can't just like ignore how good of a year Ramsey had. And I think just overall,
No one's ignoring it.
You are.
No, I'm not. You guys are ignoring Gilmore's year. You're completely dismissing his year. That's why I'm yelling it. Gilmore had a better year this year than he did last year.
I think the difference is that Ramsey doesn't have a dad and Gilmore does have a dad. You know
who?
DK.
My God.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I think. Okay, speaking of that game,
has
though,
one game. Has one game.
Even one game. It's
so I guess Jalen Ramsey didn't allow 9 catches to Devontae Adams. Like,
well, to be fair, most of those was slants and motion plays.
I don't know why people acted like Adams pitched Ramsey there. That was just true.
And also, I don't know why people thought that they were going to constantly go 1-on-1 because I don't think either coach trusted their receiver or corner. Like, I just don't think so. I feel like they'd get the hype would get into their head, and then they just.
I think Ramsey's 2.
I respect that.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to these comments. What they're gonna say about this tape.
Do it fine, honestly.
I'm just saying.
I'm excited the comments to see them. Really, it's one of those things where if you can find a stat where Ramsey was better than Gilmore, fine. Like, Gilmore had a better year this year than he did last year. I'll say it 100 more times if you need me to.
I'll just leave it at that. We'll let the comments take care of these debates.
Fine, go for it.
Go crazy comments.
I think me and PicknSpreads won the Kyler one though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, gonna be completely transparent, you probably did.
I usually do. What?
But like that's the thing. Like I bet the clip that 440's gonna post because I know he's gonna post it.
Oh yeah.
I know it's gonna paint me as the guy who thinks that Kyler Murray's like number 27 in the quarterback rankings.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, like even if you don't put him top 10, I don't think you realize how many people in my comments say Kyler's overrated, and in everyone's like video, like apparently there's this motion going around that Kyler is just terrible now, and I'm just like. Just a month and a half ago, this guy was an MVP candidate, and then he gets hurt with terrible play calling, and now he's not even top 10. That's just my thought process. Like, I'm not. And here's the thing: people are like, "Oh, you're biased. You're biased. You're a Cardinals fan." I said Kyler was overrated. I said he was. When people were comparing him to Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson, I said that's ridiculous. He's not as good as either of them. He's probably about 8, 9, 10, around there. And I still think that. Is he better than Dak? Probably not, but I think he's a lot closer than people think. I think him and Tannehill are pretty close. I think him and Herbert are pretty close, him and Carr. But
Herbert is so tough to assess.
He really
because
is.
It feels like he belongs in the top 10, but you can't.
I'm not. At least I'm not the only one that thinks that. Like, I want to put Herbert top 10, but I just don't know how I
That's just really tough. Like again, I really want to put Derek Carr in the top 10. I really think he deserves it. Like, that's the thing. Like, the last thing I want to seem, there are two things I don't want to seem like: somebody who hates players, like a blank hater. I'm not, and somebody who just like switches their opinion at like the, just this like just at one word, because that's not the case at all. But like I am so like undecided on Curry and Carr, Kyler Murray and Derek Carr. They're so comparable. They're so close to me. Because Carr has the better passing stats and the very comparable situation, but I think it's slightly worse than Kyler Murray's situation. But Murray has the better rushing ability, so it's like, I don't know, it's tough.
Yeah, it's close.
Maybe I'll put Murray over him. I don't know.
I think we convinced him 440.
Mm-hmm. How's the dub?
Yeah, good job.
Another L from Tailgate.
Have I taken
right.
an L yet? I don't think I mean,
No.
I definitely lost Montgomery. Like, people are going to flame me for that in my comment section pretty soon.
What if 440 lose? 440 didn't talk.
I talked plenty.
I'm trying to think
I
what we
lost
talked
anything.
about.
I don't know.
What was the first thing we talked about? I mean, we all agreed on Daniel Jones being butt cheeks.
I think I won. I swear I think I won Stephon Gilmore. The comments can say whatever they want. You guys didn't give me one stat that tells me that Jalen Ramsey is better.
I mean, talent-wise, I'm taking Ramsey just because of that.
That's subjective. Talent is
none of us
extremely
have-
subjective.
I prefer athletic corner, so that's just me. Because athleticism can take you farther. That's why I think Caleb Farley is the best corner in the draft. Because he's more
PicknSpreads.
athletic.
I'll just send you the picture of Stephon Gilmore batting the ball away at the 2017 AFC Championship game against Jacksonville. That's all I gotta do. That's all I gotta do.
Alrighty, I'll be ready for it.
Like, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't.
440 scouring the internet for facts.
I just because I never looked up any of the stats when you're talking about Gilmore.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, if I'm gonna be honest, I'd never really evaluate cornerback stats.
There's some stats that I look at for like specific positions, and for cornerback, I really only look at yards per game and catch rate. That's really it.
Can we all agree that Ramsey's better than Jair, though? Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my three is pretty consensus, like set in stone. Like, I don't really think there's a whole lot of leeway for me. I think it's Gilmore, Ramsey, Alexander. Like, I think that's for me. And then number 4, J.C. Jackson. Number 5, Xavier Howard, I'd say.
The defensive player of the year.
Yeah. J.C. Jackson, number 4.
Yeah.
Hey,
Number 6, T.J. Watt.
First stat I looked at, Jalen Ramsey won. 57% completion percentage for Gilmore, 50% for Ramsey.
Damn it.
Woo!
All right, I lost.
You suck.
I think Ramsey's now the greatest cornerback of all time.
Yeah, who's Dion?
Dion Hill?
Yards per target, Gilmore 6.7, Ramsey 4.9.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
I'm just reading them off.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he has to play Hopkins, and he runs 3-yard routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think you guys realize how much it sucked watching Arizona games. It was so painful.
Oh, really? Imagine being a Patriots fan this year.
Imagine
Watch Cam Newton.
Bro, we started off 6-2, and then we finished 8-8. We lost to you guys. Come on.
It's embarrassing.
Exactly.
Yeah, we blew.
And it's not even Kyler's fault. It's freaking. I blame Kyler for one loss this year, and it was against Detroit. Everything else, it's either Cliff or Zane Gonzalez when he missed.
Gonzalez.
When he missed that field goal against you guys.
Yikes.
When he missed that field goal against you guys, I almost bursted into tears. I was so
Yeah, you
sad.
screwed us out of a higher draft pick, so thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have fun getting Mac Jones.
And when he sucks because he has nowhere to throw the ball to, like he did in Alabama.
I mean, maybe you'll go get Kenny Galladay, and then I can have your account.
Yeah. Yeah. If the Patriots sign any receiver, PicknSpreads has my account.
Yeah. Golden Tate signs with New England.
And then gets cut before the season starts.
Jameer Bird becomes the number one receiver on the Patriots.
He already is.
What about Julian Edelman?
Yeah, if he even comes back.
Maybe even is he a free agent?
No, I think he's on IR though.
Oh, okay.
All right, boys. This meeting is going to end in like 30 seconds. We're on a little timer. Don't know if I have any time for some shout outs, but just go hit us all up on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, on all that stuff, Twitter, all that stuff. But good talking with you, Pick and Spreads.
Thanks for having me on, you guys.